Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Hey, Craig.
All right. Hello, Jeff.
Hello, Craig.
And welcome to episode 121 of Podcast versus Everyone. I'm Craig Powers, and with me, as always, for the second time, is Jeff Newser.
Yeah, good. It's a good thing that the technical issue we just had happened like in the first minute, which is great.
Yes.
Because having it happen farther in really, really blows. Like that's never fun. So at least it happened in the first minute, and you know.
Well, that's what we get for taking a few weeks off. Cast isn't ready for us. It's like, what are you doing here? You guys haven't been around.
Well, we're just bringing so much heat, it doesn't even know what to do. It's just like, the hot takes are incoming. Uh-oh, better put up my defense shields and throw an error at Craig. So.
Yep. Okay, we've made it past the 1 minute mark, so you better take us all the way home, Cast. So Jeff, how are you doing?
Man, I'm still floating on a cloud after Friday's news. So, I mean, here we are. It's Tuesday now. And still I'm, I just like on Cougs Center I just left up the story about the commitment just up there in the front spot because I'm just like, yeah, it's fucking awesome.
Sorry, other writers writing about things. You just get pushed down.
Well, we shared, it's
yeah. And
besides, the only other news up there was baseball news, and as we will talk about, it was not a great baseball weekend. So, but Kyle Manzardo is the player of the week, so that took the spot next to Mouhamed Gueye's commitment, and so now it's happy news up at the top again.
So yeah, let's talk about this big news. 4-star, at least in the 2022 class, 6'11", Mouhamed Gueye, who had offers from Kansas and UCLA, has chosen to play basketball at Washington State. And even better news is that he has reclassified and will be joining WSU for this season.
Yeah. Yeah, that was I don't know, man. Like this is I mean, we keep saying this is uncharted territory, right? When it comes to Kyle Smith, and we're like, wow, how does he keep doing this? How do they keep pulling this off? And I think the through line here is that, we're dealing lots of international recruits, right? In general. So we're not having to go through, for lack of a better term, the sneaker handlers, the AAU grassroots teams that are, where the real high level recruits are, sponsored by shoe companies. And so, the guys who run those programs, tend to, have a lot of control over where players end up and, do a lot of steering. They do a lot of steering. And so, as we know from the FBI probe that, landed so many assistant coaches in hot water, but oddly enough, not all that many head coaches. Very strange. And so, the through line here with our guys who are, the highly rated recruits, really the only one that's not an international guy is Deshaun Jackson, right? And he wasn't a super high, he was a 4-star guy. So he was kind of a fringy, like kind of top 150 type guy. right? But not like, we're not talking like a top 50 player like this guy is, right? And so the difference is, this guy is from Senegal. Obviously Efe is from Nigeria. Yakumovsky is from North Macedonia. Like, you're able to make inroads with these guys, without having to necessarily go through handlers. Really, with most of these guys, you just have to convince the families, oddly enough. And so, Gueye talked about that. He did a couple of interviews. He talked about the connection that Kyle Smith made with him and with his family. Just felt like the was authentic. And same thing with John Andershek, our favorite podcast guest. Obviously made a connection with him as well. So yeah, I mean, it's exactly, I mean, I've probably said this multiple times, but it really is kind of exactly what I said, like 8 years ago when we fired Ken Bone, was that we needed to go get somebody who could try and, really pull off exactly what Kyle Smith and his staff are pulling off right now, which is, not trying to go, head to head with the sneaker guys, but, finding some other talented guys that, that might fit. And I mean, they hustle like crazy. I know I'm talking a ton, but they hustle like crazy. This kid said that, our staff made contact with him pretty much the moment he arrived in the US, which was like a year ago, so, they hustle, they do their homework, and these are the fruits of that hustle.
Yeah. And you can actually see, we talk about the creativity we want in the recruiting and how they can go and find different guys. You talked about Yakumovsky and Efe, and obviously he's international and not attached to the AAU circuit as much, but really giving him the opportunity to play this year instead of next year is another bit of sort of creativity that allowed them to seal the deal over maybe Kansas and UCLA, because let's be honest, if it was 1-for-1, like he probably, like if they were just going for 2022, there's a chance they could have gotten this commit, and then someone else comes in and convinces him, he blows up his senior year. Someone else convinces him, because really, again, he has not played, like he played soccer growing up. He's not, he hasn't played. I think he said he's played basketball since like a couple years or something. Like it's not a long time. But yeah, so just to get him in this year, and again, it speaks to the staff. And I think we'll get into this a little bit more after we talk about Gueye. But just they're ready to go for it, and they're ready to build an elite roster right now, and we've seen that over and over again, but we'll get into that later. But I really want to talk about what Gueye brings to the table, and what jumps off the tape to you when you first watch him is not even the athleticism. It's the smoothness. Like he handles the ball, he drives to the basket, he has a solid looking jumper. Like this is a kid that could play. That could not be like a traditional 5. He could play a 3 or he says, I think he mentioned he could play the point or something. That'd be crazy. But I think we want him closer to the basket because of his leaping ability. But just for offensive rebounding and defensive rebounding. But yeah, and what I loved about the interview he did with dang it, I can't remember his name now. He's an ESPN scout guy. Okay, I'll find it. Okay, but so one thing I loved at what he said when he asked Gueye what attributes that he was proud of or whatever, the first thing he mentioned is that I can guard 1-5, and you're like, okay, that fits with the message that WSU is selling to these kids, right? Like. Right. You're going to play defense, and he's already saying I can guard 1-5, so he cares about defense. That's just really nice to hear, and he definitely has the athleticism, and I wouldn't say he doesn't look like maybe the jumper that Efe is, but he's definitely got that quick off the ground, easy leaping ability, and he's definitely got that huge wingspan, and he's so like we said, 6'11", 7 foot in that area. He's going to play even bigger than that. Like he's definitely thin, but that's a lot of these kids come in. These kind of highly rated bigs come in really thin, like, you know. But he's just like, and I know I want you to talk about this a little bit because you brought it up like one of the first things when we were texting about this right after. Is the great thing is for all the tools he brings with this roster, we don't really necessarily need him to be the guy right away.
Yeah, I mean he's, I think, really unlikely to start. You know, I just like I don't see where, unless somebody was injured, maybe. But you know, Jackson and FA have those, you know, 2 spots locked down in the front court, and I know you mentioned, you know, he could potentially play 3 or whatever. I am a little more skeptical of that. Not that he can't or eventually couldn't, but I think that sort of a thing might be a little down the road for him. He's still, you know, really raw. One of the things that he mentioned in that interview, it's Adam Finkelstein, by the way, who he did the interview with. And one of the things he said in one of his interviews was that, he said that this, his year that he played at Prolific Prep this year, was the first time he ever played on a team. Like ever.
Yeah.
You know, like he played basketball. It's basically what it sounds like is, you know, they had just sort of playground basketball, you know, in Senegal. And then he made a connection with Prolific Prep in California, you know, came over and really didn't play much at all his first year, there because there were some pretty awesome recruits there that, you know, big time recruits. I'm forgetting, but one of the kids is the kid who went, straight to the G League, and bypassed college. So, you know, some really, really high level recruits. And then, you know, some video surfaces of him from last summer doing some stuff, and all of a sudden he's on the recruiting radar, and that's where he gets the rating and gets thrown into the mix as the number, you know, 34 recruit or whatever. So, you know, he's just still really raw. I think that the coaching staff is, you know, going to be counting on him to really just, you know, play in a backup role. He comes off the bench, you know, no huge pressure. You know, and for a guy who hasn't played a lot of organized basketball, and to be honest, you know, FA was kind of in the same boat, right? And so, you know, he will not be counted on as much as FA was this past year, but we saw what happened when you count on a guy like that. You see flashes of brilliance, right? Because the talent's there and the ability's there, but you also see, you know, just really obvious signs that he just hasn't played that much basketball. You know, it's like just, you know, maybe it's the reading of the game or anticipating a double team or, you know, making the extra pass, you know, to get a guy open or, you know, rotating on defense or whatever it is. You know, those are things that come with experience. So I think for him, probably the selling point was, you know, would you rather develop for a year, you know, at a high school, or would you rather develop with us? You know, and it's like, I think that's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, if he wants to play in the NBA and, you know, with his tools, if he thinks, you know, he's you know, an early entrant at some point down the road, then, you know, going to college a year early is really a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer for him, and it's really a no-brainer for the staff, to take on a guy like this. So, you know, maybe those skills will develop on the perimeter, but I think for now, you know, he just sort of has the luxury of being a backup 5'4", you know, playing those 15 to 20 minutes a night. You know, we no longer have to worry about foul trouble, in theory anyway, that, you know, you got 3, you know, competent big men that can match up with a lot of people. And that was kind of our issue last year was, you know, you go to Vova and, as much as, you know, God love him, we love watching him play and we get excited when he does things on the floor. But he's, you know, very, very limited. And this kid is not.
Yeah. And that's, you know, something that, to the point where you said, is he is not going to be athletically outmatched by anyone that he plays against. He may be, you know, on a strength side, but honestly, with what there's coming in the front court in the Pac-12 next year, I don't know, not really. Like, there's not, like, a lot of the big guys are gone, or, you know, or whatever, and so we'll see. You know, and like you said, they're not going to need him to start. They maybe need him to, you know, we'll see. He basically will, like, how well he plays will dictate how much we see him, right? Like how well he has progressed. Like it could be where he plays more towards the end of the season because he's progressed a lot. Because this will be like his third year of organized basketball. So it's just an exciting add because it's just adding more depth to a roster. Adding, like you said, you don't have to worry about foul trouble as much. I mean, but this is the Pac-12 we're talking about. They can come for anyone. But you don't have to worry about foul trouble as much because you have an athletic equivalent coming off the bench. And yeah, it's just it's nice to have, and he's going to be a fun player to watch. He's going to make some exciting plays. He may be frustrating at times. Who knows? But just to get a guy with that level of talent and not have to rely on him right away, like you think that WSU in the history of WSU, if they were to pull a recruit with this pedigree, that would be expected to be maybe the best player on your team, or maybe one of, like, when Klay Thompson came in, similarly rated, he was he led the team in shot percentage, and it was him or Taylor Rochester were the go-to guys, and then you had Baines. Like he was one of the three top offensive players and played, you know, a ton of minutes. But we won't.
Yeah, and that's in a program, by the way, that was coming off 2 tournaments. Like it was, you know, he was being counted on a team that was trying to get back into its 3rd straight tournament. I mean, you know, in this team, it's like they're not doing that, but at the same time, you go, yeah. I mean, there's talent everywhere on the roster, and we talk about the front court. Like, okay, so you got, you know, I presume that our starting, you know, obviously Jackson and FA at the 5 and the 4, and then you're probably talking Kim Aiken at the 3 would be my guess. But the thing with Aiken is, you know, he can very easily slide down and play 4. He plays bigger than his 6'7". Like he's a guy who's definitely kind of like a 3-4, you know, so you can, I mean, the possibilities of mixing and matching here, you know, for matchups for Smith is really just so tantalizing.
And you have Yakimovsky at the 3 and
I mean,
3-4.
Yakimovsky
really, like,
could play 2, you know, I mean, if you really wanted to go super big, you know, you could do a crazy like Noah Williams, Yakimovsky, Aiken, you know, F.A. Deshaun or Gay Deshaun or whatever. It's like, I think I saw
Theo do that lineup, but with Bamba at the 2, which would still be a massive lineup. But if you think, like, you could put Yakimovsky at the 2 there. Yeah. Or Yakimovsky at the 1 and Noah at the 2 or whatever. You know, like you could have a lineup where it goes 6'8" or 6'5", 6'8", 6'11", 6'11", like 6'10", whatever. It's bizarre. And it's bizarre. It's bizarre to have a player of this caliber coming in and just, we're talking about him coming off the bench. There's so many guys now on the roster with obvious NBA futures. And I just love, again, let's come back to it. Like, this staff is going for it, man. Like, they saw what they had last year. They saw the kind of margins that left where they were from, you know, maybe getting to an NIT or something. Like, they were really a few wins away, you know, a couple wins here or there away from that. But then they see, you know, they're returning all this young core of talent. The jump that Noah made, you know, you have that leader. So they didn't sit, but what's as crazy is they just didn't say, hey, let's sit back, let these guys develop. Maybe they'll turn into a tournament team this year. They said, no, let's have these guys be part of a core and add talent onto it. Add Flowers, add Aiken, add in a 4-star big man. Like, we'll just add these players in, and Tyrell Roberts, of course, too. You know, addressing some, you know, with Roberts and Flowers, addressing some offensive issues that, you know, hoping to address some offensive issues that you had before. but then still bringing in Aiken and Gueye and still solidifying that defensive end side of the ball. Like it's crazy to think about. They could be better defensively next year, and I mean they have to be better offensively. Like I would assume they would be, but but yeah. So it's so crazy. We talk about it. Seems we keep coming back to it. Like every time they add someone or whatever, it's like just crazy what this roster looks like now.
Yeah, and there's no reason at all anymore to wait. Like when Dick and Tony showed up and they were like, okay, we need, we have a this many year plan to build the thing, and it's going to take that long, and, do it the right way or do it our way or whatever. That's just not the world of college basketball anymore. You don't need to do that. Players move enough. You add transfers. I mean, you take, we're a great example right now. You take, Isaac Bonton off the team and you add, Michael Flowers, and it's like, Bonton with a little less risk, right? Like, is kind of the same kind of player. And then you add, Kim Aiken from a program that has been highly successful and is, apparently like exploding at the moment. So, there's just no reason to wait anymore, and you go be aggressive, and it, creates, and this is sort of the unavoidable topic, is that it creates an uncomfortable situation where, as of right now, you've got, not including, Tony Miller, who may or may not be back, but not including him, you've got essentially 15 scholarships committed for, 13 scholarships. So there's going to be, some shuffling, and, some people are going to go, and, and that is a little, it's something that, I don't think anybody is entirely comfortable with, but
right.
It's also like, if you want to do this, you do it, and if you got a chance to add a kid like this, you add him, and then you figure it out. And, it's like I said, it's uncomfortable and, whatever, but, you just, time waits for no one. Right. And, you do what you got to do to do it right away. And, just sort of underscore, why they should be doing this and why they should go for it. I mean, we like to reference, barttorvik.com quite a bit right now because, Ken Palm, who of course we love dearly, doesn't do any kind of projections until pretty much right before the next season. He kind of waits for everything to play out and settle down and rosters to shake out and all that stuff. Well, Bart, as we've talked about before, just kind of, leaves everything live, and, you can play around with stuff and add guys and take guys away, and the projections change as players move. And so we are all the way up to number 41 in the country projected by his system. 67 on offense, 31 on defense. And by the way, that is good for third in the Pac-12. Now we are at the head of a clump of teams in the 40s. Mm-hmm. So it's us, Oregon, Arizona, Arizona State, Stanford, all in the 40s, but still I will take third. I'll take it, and so that's why you go for it, because when you're in that 40s range, I mean, that is squarely, bubble territory, last handful of teams in the tournament territory. And I know you've been waiting to write about this, but Kyle Smith always outperforms his projections. So
yeah,
it's exciting.
And I know it's uncomfortable. Like you said, it's uncomfortable that, obviously there's going to be some sort of roster attrition. There's just too many guys. I don't want to speculate too much on.
Yeah, we don't. We have no idea. We have no idea, and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. I don't want to name names and all that. So if you're listening, you can figure out your own way on that one. But yeah, it's so, the thing is, like, this is what a lot of programs in our conference have been doing. Oregon has been done very well with adding 1-year transfers, 2-year transfers, whatever. And
maybe
then,
best in the country, to be honest.
Maybe best in the country.
So good.
Oregon State, it paid off huge for them, this year. We saw USC, add an important piece to their roster that went to the Elite Eight. So
Taj Edey.
Taj Edey, of course, and then so like it's just this is what you do. This is what coaches do when they see they have a chance to get over the top. Like and if you think about it, like if you think about F.A. Abigidi, if they're looking at him as being a piece of a winning team, there's no guarantee he's staying another year, like any longer than next year. This guy's already at this last season, he's made a name for himself. He's going to start on draft boards next year, so there's no guarantee he's coming back. So you're going to lose that huge piece. Who knows? You don't know what Noah's going to do. You don't know what any of these guys are going to do.
Yep.
So you got to play with the roster you have, and if your roster is a couple pieces away from getting where you want to be, I mean, you got to go for it. And they've done it. And looking at Bart's numbers, they've put themselves in a position to challenge for an NCAA tournament bid. They ended the season last year at 72 in Bart's numbers. They were they were 79 in Ken, so maybe they'll be a little lower on Ken Pomeroy's projections. Who knows? It'll be interesting to see if like Gueye is actually given a rating for this year, and how that impacts things on these projections. But yeah, they'll be there, and we've said this before. We're going to keep saying it. Like they're there. They have the talent now, and they have a coach who regularly outperforms his expectations. So it's massively exciting. It's going to be at the expense of probably some guy that we were excited about, that we're committed to, whatever.
Yep.
And that's going to be a bummer. But yeah, this is the nature. Arizona State thought they might have Remy Martin next year, and he's gone. Like, he's leaving. He's either trying for the NBA or entering the portal, one of the two. He's just not playing Arizona State next year. So if you're WSU, you're looking at that, like, we're going to wait around, and then maybe Noah Williams decides he wants to go to a program that's guaranteed to get to the tournament. Maybe another player wants to do that. Or do you just want to be the team that goes to the tournament with them? Like, that's what they're doing. And again, like, transfers have helped a lot of programs in our conference take another step and kind of be better in seasons where they may have taken a step back. We didn't think WSU was going to take a step back next year, but still, it's helped them, Oregon was better than they would have been if not bringing in for a bunch of transfers. Oregon State, who knows what they would have even looked like without all those transfers they brought in. And, you think, were you Thalatishe without him? Like, what would they have looked like without him? Even USC, it wasn't just Edey. They had the backup big who came in, who was, they needed him. Foul trouble happened. Chavez Goodwin, who's actually staying another year now too. So that'll help them out because they're losing, Evan Mobley and so it's it's just I can't fault the strategy and actually I'm excited they're doing it. Like I want to see us win, man. Like it is like I have this shirt that says NCAA Men's Tournament 2008 in my closet. That's the last time. That is a long time. That this is now as long as it was between Sampson's year and Bennett's year.
Oh my gosh. I don't even want to think about it like that.
And I remember when we were in school, so there was this time I was in school and I had some manager friends, and the WSU was playing UCLA, and this was back when you'd get like the regional Fox Sports Net broadcasts, and it wouldn't be on in Northwest, but it would be on in like LA or whatever.
Yeah.
And so we we went up with like a couple of like injured players. It's actually like David Harmley and Derek Lowe to drop some names. But we were watching the game. If you remember the game, Weaver missed a layup at the buzzer to tie it after they made a huge comeback. It was one of those games where Okoye went nuts. But anyway, so I remember we're sitting there and we're in their film room, you know, where they like record every game that they could possibly, that every team they could possibly play is, you know, like all these VCRs or whatever, like, and there's all these tapes on the wall, and one of them is like the NCAA tournament game from 1994 or whatever. Like it's just sitting there. And I remember all of us, the players or the manager, looked at it like, oh my gosh, like we went to a tournament and that felt so long ago. Like it just felt like an eternity ago. And we are at that same exact time gap now. God. We're due for a tournament, man.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yep. So I'm in the same boat, man. You know, you do what you got to do. If you wait for tomorrow, then you end up waiting forever. And really any coach that says that, that is the perfect analogy. You know, Mariners fans are always waiting for Jared Kellenek's here, waiting for tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, any coach that would tell you that, oh, well, you know, I would never, you know, give out a scholarship to a player if I didn't have one available is lying. You know, I mean, if they've got a chance to add a great player and that puts them over the limit and they got to do a little uncomfortable sorting, then they just do it. You know, it's, you know, it's sort of part of the deal. And, you know, the other part is to, you know, players, as weird as this is to say, you know, players kind of know the game. I mean, sometimes players end up, you know, feeling screwed and, you know, whatever, but I don't know that there's anybody on this roster that would say, you know, they didn't get a fair shot, right? To try and, you know, prove themselves and, you know, to sort of, you know, see where they fit. And, you know, sometimes players see the writing on the wall and they just decide, you know, I better get ahead of the game. And that's, you know, Jazz Kuntz, right? Who, you know, decides, all right, I'm going to go ahead and go before I get told to go. You know, so he goes and he lands at Iowa State, which is great. So, you know, there are people on this roster that, you know, probably aren't Pac-12 level players. You know, and those are the guys that probably will have to, you know, have a hard conversation with themselves and maybe think about, you know, landing somewhere else where honestly, if for their basketball future, it's probably, I mean, not to sound patronizing, but it's going to sound patronizing, but you know, it honestly might be better off for them, in their future anyway, you know, to get like real minutes, somewhere versus, you know, fighting for scraps for us. Cause there's only, you know, I mean, there's only so many spots to play. Right. I mean, you're looking at 8-9 guys are going to play and, you know, 3 or 4 aren't going to play at all. And, you know, so it's tough. It's rough being on the end of a bench for sure, but yeah, excited. That's the overall theme, man. Like I said, still floating, still excited. And really I'm, you know, I can't wait for, you know, November, which is not close, but I'm going to be thinking about it a lot.
We've done this exercise many times now, and we did it before any of the transfers, any of the ads. But it's just like it's crazy building in like an 8-man rotation now.
Yeah, tough
like
to do.
It already was like it's so tough because like you know now you gotta think Gueye is going to be the third big man, so he's in there.
Yep.
And then I mean DJ Rodman was a valuable player last year. Andre Yakimovsky has, you know, some of the biggest potential on the team.
Yep.
Bamba, same way. You know, it's just like where are these minutes going? But at the same time, what a problem to have. Like now you bring in like one of the best scorers in the country. Oh darn. You bring in an athletic 3-4, who's an efficient offensive player in his own right. Oh darn! You bring in a 4-star athletic 6'11", 7'5" wingspan kid. Like, oh darn, like what a tough problem to have. Sorry, Coach Smith, that you have to build this rotation with too many good players. Like, it's just too hard. Look what you've done to yourself. But yeah, we've seen in many years where there was one or two Pac-12 players on the team, and that was it. And now you can go 10 deep and without a problem. And so this is like just uncharted territory, at least recently, folks, and at least in the last decade. So it's we're just gonna keep it's just gonna be the summer of just like us getting giddy randomly over the upcoming basketball season. But I think that's what people want to hear. I think y'all enjoy it, and it's awesome basketball. I want the basketball season to start right now. Please, I know.
I can't believe we have to wait that long, but oh well. The anticipation will make it that much sweeter, right?
Exactly. Anticipation is always some of the best. I gotta say, like, probably the anticipation going into that 07-08 season was at times more fun because like it was so hard to enjoy the season because you were just expecting them to win and you were expecting everything to happen. But this one, it's still like, because they actually haven't done anything yet. And I want to talk about this a little bit too, because like we already, like, half the comments in the Gueye commit post on Cougs Center are worried
let's
about
have this conversation.
They're worried about Kyle Smith leaving.
Oh my gosh, people!
Like, and I get it. As Coug fans, we are burned by this over and over again. I mean, Tony left.
We're not special on this. We're not. I know we're not on this.
But we're not special. But it still happens to us. So just because you're not unique doesn't mean you can't feel the pain.
I don't know, man. The best football coach we ever had was with us for like 15 years. Like, I don't know, man. It doesn't happen as much as we think it does, I guess is what I'm saying. But anyway, continue.
But it does in basketball though. Like, I mean, Sampson was here for a while, but as soon as he had success, he was gone. Bennett stayed through until his seniors, his core seniors were done, and then he was gone. Raveling left after his best success.
But hold on. George Raveling, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years. Yes, Kelvin Sampson.
But what did
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7
do? What did Raveling do the year before he?
Yes, you're right. He left at the peak of his powers. There's no doubt about that.
So the people are worried if we have, Kyle Smith goes to a tournament next year, he's gone. But at the same time, like, so I'm just saying, I understand you're hurt, you're worried, but if that's your takeaway from this, like, just take a step back, take a deep breath, and just enjoy what's happening in the moment instead of worrying all the time about something that may happen in the future. Like, and it sucked when Tony left, and then it's 13 years since the basketball team has, went to the tournament. Yeah, that sucks. But one, we haven't even went to, Kyle Smith has not taken WSU to a tournament yet. He hasn't had a winning record in conference play. He hasn't done anything that would attract a bigger school other than his recruiting prowess. But that still, let's let him win some games before we're worried about him leaving. Let's enjoy some wins before we're worried about after Tony started winning, then we started worrying about him leaving because people were offering him jobs. Indiana was offering him a job, and whoever, and then whoever came, the surprise came when he left. But we got to enjoy some wins because no one expected him to be that good that year, that first year.
Right.
And so let's just enjoy the goodness. And then if Kyle Smith gets hired by some big time basketball program, or some bigger than WSU basketball program, that means he did something awesome here. Like that's the only way that's going to happen. That means he did something awesome here. So that means we're going to have some fun before that happens. So just let it, just like chill about that, what might happen, and just enjoy that we're racking up all this talent, and we're pulling in players like Deshaun Jackson, Mouhamed Gueye, and guy like recruits like that, like Andre Akamoski, who we just never see that many stars next to their name that regularly. Like, and so it's just fun. Enjoy it and enjoy the team. The team's going to be super fun to watch next year.
And let's be honest, like if this goes to form, the team is going to get good, he's going to leave, and then we're going to suck again. Okay, so not to be a downer, but what I am saying is, like, all the more reason to enjoy it along the way, right?
Exactly.
Like if now, again, I think we all hope that we are in a new era of WSU sports, and I think there's reason to believe that we are. I mean, we're going to talk about Pat Chun and his extension and how exciting that is, but it's like, I think there's this feeling that, look, we are not, as an athletic department, we are not the lovable losers that so many of our fans, sort of identify with. I didn't have a lot of experience with that because we went to a Rose Bowl when I was in school, and we were, our basketball team, at least my freshman year, was on the fringes of the NCAA. I mean, really, we were an injury to our star player away from being, in the NCAA tournament. So, my life experience as a Coug is like, we can be successful. We can be good. And then, you see, all these different programs, right? I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum, all the programs, right, are, on the rise. And, we're going to talk about baseball, and baseball is within, sniffing distance of the postseason after, bottoming out under Donnie Marbett and Marty Lees. And it's like, there's just this expectation that, it doesn't have to be necessarily the way it was. Like, we're not etched into whatever it was. And so, I mean, there's reason to hope that, whatever Kyle Smith builds here, if and when he goes, there's no reason to think that the next guy can't, continue that or do it his own way. There's no reason to think we can't make another smart hire. I mean, these things are out there and they're available, and, it's just, they're just not, I don't know, man, all the more reason to enjoy it. Even if you're the most pessimistic person in the world and go, when he leaves, we will suck again. Okay, great. Enjoy this, because who knows how long it's going to last. And I wish, to be honest, that I had enjoyed the Tony Bennett era more, particularly that second season. I was so, I remember it so clearly. I would, like, every game I was thinking, what does this mean for the NCAA tournament? What does this mean? I was always looking for the end of the year because that was sort of the foregone conclusion, right? And maybe we could make a run in the tournament. And so that's where my head was at all year. And then when it was over, I was just like, did I enjoy that as much as I could have? I really just was not in the moment, and now, as you mentioned, I mean, we're talking like, almost 15 years ago at this point. I mean, it's so long ago now. I just, after that, I really committed. I'm like, man, I'm just going to enjoy it. When Mike Leach was doing his thing, I'm like, man, this is awesome. I know we're not winning Pac-12 championships, but, it sure was a lot of fun. And so as a fan, I ever since then, to be honest, I've tried to kind of live in the moment as much as possible. And I would really encourage people, man, if you can, try to figure out a way to do the same, because I think you miss a lot when you're always looking ahead.
And hey, why always just expect the worst? Maybe there's an outside chance that Kyle Smith just loves Pullman.
Maybe
that much, and his wife loves Pullman, and they stay here forever, and just win everything. And that's all. Like, let's just enjoy everything that's good, and just stop
build
worrying
a new
about
arena. We'll just do it. We'll become a powerhouse.
Yeah, let's do that, So yeah, it's
I'm behind that.
Let's I know it's just in people's nature to, look ahead and do all those things, but
Yep.
let's just enjoy good things and this upcoming season with this like athletic and talented roster, long and athletic roster.
I know I snuck that in there in the story. He's got excellent length and athleticism. I can't resist. Cannot resist.
I will say those Ernie Kent teams that were described as long and athletic could not touch this current upcoming roster.
No, they could not.
So basketball just giving us nuggets to talk about and we're gonna have John on again at some point soon. We're gonna have some other cool guests on to talk about the basketball team. It's just gonna be a fun summer of talking about the basketball team. It's just gonna be a matter of being patient, and nobody likes that. I feel like my 3-year-old right now. Like, I want it now. Like, why do I have to wait? How about Jeff? Let's take a break, and then we'll finally talk about that spring football game.
Back.
We are back. Jeff, I think I know what you're drinking.
You do know what I'm drinking.
Enlighten me.
I am having a little beer called Modelo Especial. It's brewed in Mexico, Craig.
Just for those that
imported
don't know,
beer.
Especial means special.
Oh, I would have never guessed that.
Yeah,
even after my 2 years of Spanish in high school.
And do you know what they call beer in Spanish, Jeff?
Cerveza.
Which I always find
it's on the can.
I know but I always find it fascinating that almost every language in Europe calls beer, or it's beer everywhere. It's beer, except Spanish that calls it cerveza. Like every derivative of a Germanic or Romance language, it's beer, and then it's cerveza in Spanish. They're just
I'd love to know.
We're calling this thing different.
The etymology of that would be fun. There's probably a good story there for a language nerd. Yeah. So in honor of Mouhamed Gueye and Kyle Smith and John Andershek and Coach Shaw. By the way, we didn't mention Coach Shaw has now been promoted to associate head coach, which is apparently a big damn deal. Probably comes with a raise, so good for him because that guy is a damn good coach, and we are so lucky to have him on staff. And then Derek Phelps as well. So yeah, it's been I'm having a Modelo in honor of them. I cannot remember the last time I had a Modelo, and I don't think I'll be having another Modelo until maybe basketball season. Not my favorite, but that's all right.
Modelo is like the Rainier of Southern California. Like it's just like the go-to cheap beer down there. And it's funny. It depending on the vessel in which you get it, it's a wildly different price. Like it's super cheap when it's in the cans, and it's like craft beer price when it's in the bottles. And it's actually worse in the bottles because it gets that skunky flavor.
Yeah.
Because they have clear bottles. So I went to get some Modelo. I had gotten some on Cinco de Mayo, and then I had some. Still had some to have to celebrate the Not today, but I went to Tacoma Boys. And I was like, they have like a ton of beer. They'll have Modelo, and they did, but it's in the bottles, and it's like $11 for a 6-pack. I'm like, this stuff is like at Walgreens you get the 24-ounce can for like $2 or something.
That's
like,
what
it's
I
like
bought.
so cheap.
That's what I bought.
I sent
Winco.
Amanda. Amanda had went over to Walgreens for something, and like I was like, oh, can you pick me up a can of Modelo for the podcast? And she calls me. She's like, they don't have any cans. They only have like 12-pack glass bottles. I'm like, no, don't buy that. Like, we just went through enough glass bottles of Modelo. But yeah, so what I'm drinking is I looked for just, you know, a name that would fit or whatever. So I settled on Incoherency by Balebricker, because like it's just like the way that they add these players is just like makes me incoherent, makes me feel like I'm incoherent, like I'm like it's incomprehensible to me, like that, like it's very hard, like given how WSU has recruited in the past, like it's just I'm rendered incoherent. This is a golden stout. It is made with vanilla beans, cacao nibs, and Basalt Roasters coffee, which I assume is a roaster in Yakima. It's from Balebricker. It is aged for 5 months in Jameson whiskey barrels. It's from last year. I have a friend that worked there that gifted this to me.
Nice.
They say it pairs well with backyard s'mores and ice cream. I would believe that. It's pretty tasty. You know, if you've ever had a gold stout, it's usually like a golden ale with coffee, generally. Usually they put some vanilla or milk sugar in there to kind of give it the stout body. But yeah, it's pretty tasty. I think they were smart, just only 5 months with the Jameson whiskey barrels, because it probably would have like overpowered the lighter body on it if they would have did it for longer, because it's about 8%, so it's got some punch, but it's pretty solid beer. I just, you know, I was going for name, and I've had this beer for a bit, and Balebricker doing fancy wax tops is like a fairly recent thing for them, so good job, Balebricker. Owned by Huskies, but a lot of Cougs work there, so I don't know.
It probably balances out.
Yeah, I guess it balances out. Usually you talk to a Coug when you go there, so it's fine. And go hometown, I guess. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Woo, Yakima.
Woo, Yakima. But yeah, so let's talk about spring football, where we didn't get to drink beer. We didn't get to drink beer at the spring game. And Jeff,
the game probably would have looked a lot better if we had.
Yeah, if I was 10 beers deep in Pullman, I would have had a lot more fun watching that spring game.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we probably won't talk about this for very long because the game really sucked. And maybe
ugly.
As we are both, I think, readily admitting, like maybe they always suck this bad. Because we're usually pretty deep by the time the game kicks off, or it's not really a kickoff, but you know what I mean. By the time the game starts, we're pretty
snaps
deep.
Off or whatever they did.
We're usually pretty deep, and so really, it's one of the reasons why I love going, because it's like, the game's not real, the competition's not real. You just get to see a little football, you have some beer, joke around with your friends, laugh at stupid things, and whatever, just have a good time. Not quite the same sitting in my basement watching the game on TV, and also like I said, maybe it's always that bad, but I don't think so. And in particular, I am having a little bit of a mild panic attack about the quarterbacks, man. I am buddy, that is a dicey situation. And we had, before the spring game, we had a podcast where we talked about how Joe Milton, right? We talked about the Michigan transfer, Joe Milton, and he was apparently looking at, Tennessee and us. He's insisting that we were in the mix, even though it seemed like Tennessee, was a foregone conclusion. But I remember, I think I uttered the phrase like, yeah, I'm just not sure I see how it makes sense for either him or for us. And then I watched that game, and then I was like, oh, now I see. We are a mess at quarterback. And, Jared Guarantano lasted all of one pass, right? And it was one of the worst passes you'll ever see in your lifetime. Cameron Cooper looked pretty terrible. And really the only guy, and then Jane DeLora didn't play. And the only guy who actually looked intriguing was the freshman, Xavier Ward. And my God, if we were starting another true freshman, I don't want to go down that road. So yeah, I was not at all encouraged by what I saw. And I know a lot of guys sat out, so you can only read so much into it, but man, the quarterbacks looked extremely shaky, and that is not what you want to see.
Yeah, I actually, I'll give a little plug to this, but I was on another podcast today for the Chase Thomas podcast.
Ooh,
check that out.
Whore.
Although I will say he did. I told him I'd forgive him just this once. He spelled Wazoo wrong when he tweeted out the podcast.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So he gave it the O. But I razzed him for that. He said it was almost 1 a.m. there, so whatever, man. But that's cool. But hey, I was really impressed with him. Great interviewer, and so it was fun, really fun chatting with him. But yeah, so he asked me about the QB situation, and him being a Tennessee fan, he was like, he kind of assumed that Guarantano was going to step in. They brought him in to be the starter. And so he asked me, do you think Guarantano's going to be the starter? And I said, no. I was like, if Guarantano was going to be the starter, he would have taken the job in spring ball. But what we heard from Rolovich was not positive about the quarterbacks.
Yeah, like
we've been hearing.
Nobody's good enough.
Yeah, and so, what I told him is if Jane DeLora is back, I think it'll be his job. He's already won the job before. So it's and hopefully that means like our best quarterback is, we just haven't seen him. He didn't play in spring ball, and he'll have been through his. I think if he was going to get kicked off the team, he'd be gone by now. I think he'll be back by
he'll
fall
be
camp,
back.
and it'll be okay. But yeah, and so it was just the game was like the quarterback play was when you're like third and fourth stringers are looking more impressive than you're the guy the guy that's your former 4-star that's contending for the starting job, like
yep.
It's just we just haven't seen the progression from Cooper that you would have hoped, and it's just and yeah, like, is the defense, maybe, Jeff, the defense is just really good, but I don't think so.
No, I don't know that. I do think Jalen Watson is really good.
Yes.
But we thought that before, right?
Yep.
So the defense could be fine, and as I said, I mean, there's only so much you read into any spring game anyway, as we talked about during our preview, and then you read even less when so many guys were out. It was a ton of dudes who were out. So that's fine. But it's like also there's just, there's a certain level of competence that you want to see. And you can tell the difference. Casual fans can tell the difference between bad offense and good defense. And what we saw in general was bad offense. And, again, it's as we said during our preview, it's only spring drills. It's, coaches are working on stuff, blah, 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 all the caveats. But again, you referenced, and I think this is important, like Nick Rolovich made it clear that they were not good enough at quarterback, during the game or during spring. And that is frankly a pretty terrifying prospect. And we're a school that, for many years now has gotten used to, thrown out last year, but, gotten used to some really high level, quarterback play. Even like the worst year of quarterback play we had in the last 7 years was Luke Falk's senior year. And, half the Pac-12 would have killed for a quarterback to play as well as he played that year. So it's like, we've been really, really lucky, fortunate, blessed with quarterback play, and we may be on the verge of experiencing what pretty much every other school goes through, which is every once in a while you just have a year where it's bad, and we may very well be heading towards that. I hope not. I hope Delora has his head screwed on straight and comes back and wins the job and takes a big step forward. But, if we honestly and objectively say, well, look at last year, look at, the 4 games that he did play. I mean, it was extremely uneven and not really good enough either. Now, can you project out and be like, he's going to be better as a sophomore? That's what you hope for. But, do you know for sure? You don't really know for sure. So, super uneasy about the fall. There's a part of me that's like, man, I don't know. I don't get very pessimistic very often, but, with all the attrition they had with dudes transferring, and I know that, really none of those guys were guys that we would consider, impact guys, most of them. But still that hurts your depth, and, then you're relying on freshmen, you're relying on sophomores, and I don't know, man. I got an uneasy feeling. I got an uneasy feeling about how this fall is going to play out.
Yeah. I will say it was pretty funny when he had me go through game by game prediction, and my record turned out better than what I would have just said. So check that out. If you want to hear me talk about the football team for more than like the 10 minutes we're talking about it here, go check out Chase Thomas' podcast. He's already uploaded it. Again, like I am like the least cool guest he's had. I
was like Chase Thomas podcast, and then I looked and I went, oh wow, that guy's actually pretty popular.
Way bigger deal than we are.
Yes,
sure.
he is. That is 100% true.
So go check it out. He was good. He was not the I brought up the Vol fans with Gorentano, and we had some fun with that. So so I would check it out. So again, spring ball is just hard to read into, but again, it seems like you can only ever draw negative things from it, and that's all I'm drawing this time. And so I really hope that quarterback looks a lot better fall magically, and because we need that. I will say Deion McIntosh looked great still.
He looked
made
awesome.
Some great plays. And so, I mean, we're going to be able to run the ball.
Yep.
And that's kind of the reason you're like, maybe just have Jaden Delora in there. Let's do some read option. We still figure out this run and shoot thing. But I would love to see the run and shoot, in all its glory. Get going. We saw that, he could come in and have a good offense right away. And so hopefully they can build on that.
Still lots of talent at receiver if we just get, someone get him the ball. Lots of guys
Get Jamel Harris the ball.
Yep. So, spring game.
I mean, I would have much rather we went there and we just like had a good time, and talked about that, and had podcasted from the parking
lot again.
This time with our soundboard. So I don't know. I just checked the Mariners score. Mariners, God. So speaking of them, man. So I don't know what else to say about spring football.
There's nothing else to say. Let's move on.
Let's talk about the guy who hired Nick Rolovich, and the guy who hired Kyle Smith, and the guy who is leading the athletic department across the board to some unprecedented heights and some unprecedented fundraising, and that's Pat Chun, who got a nice little bump up in his pay, and a contract extension this past week, and that was good to see. Obviously, it tells you that they were a bit worried that he was looking other places, but but he also deserves a raise, I think. Given the value he gives to the athletic program, I think he was worth an extra $50K.
At least if we could pay him more, we should give him more. He's obviously done a fantastic job, overseeing, the couple of important hires, facility improvements, and most importantly, fundraising expansion. The dude deserves everything he's getting. I know that, when his name started popping up with, jobs in the Big Ten, that's when I kind of was a little worried, cause he's, he was basically a Big Ten lifer up until he left and went to, Florida Atlantic and then came up here. So, you never know what somebody's thinking, but it wouldn't be a shock, if he wanted to go, back closer to where he grew up. And, and again, we sort of have this, that we've already talked about, this fear of, being jilted, as a fan base. But, like I said, this, happens everywhere. If someone leaves, that's because they did well, and that's what you want. Like, you want them to do well. You want them to do really, really well, so that you have those memories. I don't think any of us would trade. I mean, just back to basketball for a second, but I don't know about you, Craig. I would not trade those 3 seasons with Tony Bennett and those 2 NCAA tournaments, just because I knew he was only going to stay for 3 years. You play this game, right? If you knew beforehand that it was going to be like this, would you take it? And it's like, but for real, if you knew, okay, he's only going to be here for 3 years, but in that time you're going to go to 2 NCAA tournaments, you'd be like, sign me up for sure. Right. It's like, yeah, because you just, you want to be good, and then you just have to, you have to nail the next hire. And I think, whenever Pat Chun, does leave, if it happens. And the honest truth is, by the way, school administrators don't stick around typically forever. And that's just that's just sort of a maxim. Like, I remember when I first found out that college presidents, stick around for an average of 4 or 5 or 6 years, whatever it is, not that long. And it's I remember being surprised by that. I was like, wow, that seems like a position you'd want to be in for a long time. And, it's just not like that, for college administrators. So, you have someone 5, 6, 7, 8 years, there's a handful of ADs and the really, cushy jobs that may stick around forever, but, most everybody else is sort of moving around. And, so whenever that happens, if Kirk Schultz is still around as our president, I feel good about that. He's, shown a real ability to hire people that, bring success to the school. So, whatever it is, again, however long we have him, it's great. I feel confident that the infrastructure he's building within the athletic department is something that will last. I really do. You can see the direction, you can see what they're doing, you can see, you can see that it's not a one-man show, that he has, put a team in place. And so hopefully that, there's every reason to believe that stuff will, outlast him if and when, he does move on.
Yeah, but hey, they're doing something to try to keep him now, and so that's good. Mm-hmm. Better than just letting him go.
Absolutely.
Which I feel like, there's times in WSU past where it's just been cross your fingers and hope he doesn't leave type thing.
Oh yeah, we're gonna penny pinch over $10,000 when the guy might be bringing in $100,000. Or, you know what I mean? Like his value is, exponential that, 10,000. We did that with, Mike Price. It was like, what are we doing? Why are we pinching pennies?
Well, yeah, there's a reason why they, Tony Bennett became the first $1 million coach at WSU.
Oh yeah.
Cause even Stirk, who was the ultimate penny pitcher, was like, nah, we gotta try to do something to keep this guy. Yeah. So it was, it's good. I enjoy, I love having Pat Chun as our AD, and I hope he stays for over the average amount of time, which he probably already has, actually.
I hope so, man.
But yeah, so, but I am enjoying, this current kind of, all the athletic programs that are doing well. Yep. And one of those that is on the rise, Mariners want to say CS rise, but watch Wazoo rise. is the baseball program.
Yeah.
Really had been on a nice run, and then taking the series from Oregon and coming in at, they win the midweek game against Seattle U, I think it was, and then come in, they win that opener against UCLA, another ranked team, and it just a series that they
look
desperately
great
need.
doing it.
They looked great doing it. And then that second game, man, it looked like it was there. They were going to take the series, and then it just they honestly they don't have a deep bullpen.
Yeah,
they don't have a deep pitching staff, and seriously, it's not, even the guys that came in, like the rally that UCLA. Okay, so 5-2 coming into the bottom of the top of the ninth. And you're up 5-2. They tried to stretch their best guy. It wasn't working. You bring another guy, and it walks, and kind of you get walks, you get light singles, and then suddenly it's a rally, and then suddenly you lose. And that was a real bummer, because it was very clear that Brian Green was laying it all on the line in that second game to try to get that second game when they had the opportunity to take the series, because they had nothing left when it came to Sunday, especially pitching-wise.
Yep. I haven't watched them a lot this year, but what I loved about that Saturday game, and I'm guessing I saw a little bit of it on Friday as well in the game they won, but Brian Green does have a sense of leverage, as a lot of coaches don't. The idea that, the old school way of thinking is, okay, well, this guy's our 8th inning guy, this guy's our 9th inning guy, whatever. But basically what I saw was they've basically got 2 relievers, like two good relievers, and everybody else is, pretty hit and miss. And I mean, even I listened to the coaches show last week, and Green he said specifically, he's like, yeah, we are short, a couple of arms in the bullpen. We really need some guys to step up and give us a little more. And, we really need a little more, and we got to get a little more from our bullpen. I mean, he said it like 3 different times, like we need a little more. And then we saw it, over the weekend, that Saturday game. So, he really, they kind of went hard after it on Friday, went to Newstrom, which is their big lefty, out of the pen, and he's sort of devastating, fastball slider guy, really, really good. And so he gave them some good, at bats on Friday. And then they went to the closer, and they went to him in the 8th. And he's a high, I'm like drawing a total blank on his name right now, which sucks because he's totally filthy. But he's sort of a high, I don't want to say high energy, high, exertion guy. Like he's just high effort guy. Like when he throws, like it doesn't look like the ball's coming out easy. Like he's like throwing his whole, there you go. Connor Barrison. Yeah. It just kind of looks like he's putting his whole thing into it, which there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like, he faced, I think 4 or 5 batters on Friday. And then when he came in on Saturday, again, they tried to go to him in the 8th inning, and into the 9th. And then by the time, and he did okay in the 8th. And then by the time he got to the 9th, like it was pretty clear after like, I can't remember if he faced 1 or 2 batters in the 9th.
It was 1 batter. I think it was 4 straight balls. I think
it was
the
1
4th ball
batter
hit the guy. So
yeah. So 1 batter, and it was like, oh, like he's pretty gassed,
He's toast. Yeah.
Yep. And so they brought him out, and then, like you said, that's kind of where it went from there, and which was such a bummer because that was, they were that close. They were that close to taking a series, from a ranked UCLA. Really, it feels like they really should have. In fact, it seemed like maybe they had a little bit of a hangover the next day. They lost today to Portland. And the midweek games are always kind of iffy anyway because the pitching is what it is, and so that's, you don't read too much into the midweek stuff, but sure seemed like a little bit of a hangover. And if they're shooting for 500 in conference, that seems to be the target that everybody thinks gets them at least in the conversation for the tournament. Losing 2 out of 3 to UCLA, while not a killer, Man, you look at that one game and you just go, ugh, they had it, man. They had it.
And that, this has been a story throughout the season. There's a handful, many games that you could, Stanford and some others where it's the same thing happened. They blew a late 8th, 9th inning lead. Because they score runs and they'll take leads and they'll make comebacks. But we saw today, they were playing Portland and the pitching hurt them again. They gave up 10 runs, obviously, and they lose to Portland. So that doesn't help. That they're now sitting at I can't. When was this updated? May 9th. So 3 games on May 9th. So this doesn't include that loss, but that loss is not going to help. After the UCLA series, they dropped down to 64 in RPI. They were after the first win up at near 50, I think. So those 2 losses, another Portland loss coming up. That's it's tough, that was tough because Portland is 211 in RPI, so that's not going to do them any favors. So that's a tough loss. They do have some lesser teams left on the schedule. The best they can do there is just beat the heck out of what they got left and hope that that's enough, because there's not there's not any not as many marquee wins left on the schedule like you could get against UCLA. That's why that one was tough. But
if people get it. I was going to say, if people get a chance to watch them, though, they are, even if they don't make the postseason, I mean, they are just fun. They're just a fun team. They rake. Everybody loves offense, right? Kyle Manzardo, who's going to be in, a high draft pick after this season. That dude is a special hitter. Really one of the better, I mean, not that I've watched, WC baseball all that closely over the years. But he is very, very, very good. And Brian Green is doing exactly what he was brought here to do, which was, make the team better. And in particular, he's always known for improving the offense. And I don't know what he does. I don't know what he teaches his hitters. I don't know what he sees in the guys that he recruits, but we are solid, really 2 through 6 in the lineup. With guys who legitimately scare opposing pitchers. Watched, Manzardo get intentionally walked a couple times. They legitimately scare some people with that lineup. And then, with the pitching staff, like I said, they're a couple arms short, but they've got some guys who are really awesome. Zane Mills is great. He's the Saturday guy. I think is it Brandon White? I think White is his last name, but anyway, the Friday starter, he is exciting young kid. And like I said, the relievers are, the 2 top relievers, really, really good. I mean, they're a fun team to watch, man. They will not, they will not bore you to death, watching a game, which, I think is, I think kind of what you want. So even if they don't make the postseason, man, again, just enjoy it. Exciting stuff. If you like baseball, figure out a way to watch the games. They're all on some screen somewhere at some point. Either it's Pac-12 Network or streaming on your computer. And if you don't like watching on your computer, get yourself a Chromecast. Throw that thing up on the screen.
Well, as I told you before, they don't offer Chromecast.
What?
But they do. Yeah, I told you that right before, man. There's
true,
no Chromecast, but when you're on the WSU live stream, there's no Chromecast button. There has been in the past, but I haven't seen it lately. And
through the Pac-12 app.
No, I'm looking at the when I do the
use the app.
I'll just go to the WSU live stream browser page.
Yeah, either use the app or go through the Pac12.com website. Either one of those.
Well, that's where I am, a Pac12.com website. It's just.
I was going to say, the Pac12.com website usually has the Chromecast button in the corner of the of the broadcast.
It's for me. It has showed up randomly occasionally.
Weird.
But it has not. Anytime I've watched baseball, it doesn't show up.
Lame. Well, I used the Pac-12 app on my iPhone to stream it to my Chromecast on both Friday and Saturday. So maybe try that.
Well, I'll have to try that. So yeah, it'll probably I think all the USC games will be on their Pac-12 live stream, and then the UW games at the end of the season will be on our Pac-12 live stream, and then whoever they fill in those middle games in with, who knows, will be on WSU's Pac-12 live stream. So
and we mean like we literally do not know who's filling those. It's literally says TBD on their schedule, so we do not know. We have no idea. But I'm sure it'll be exciting. But these are games, these are winnable games. I mean, USC is a beatable team. Washington's bad. Be real good. Good idea to finish strong.
I saw a funny tweet that said, I think it's probably from an Oregon fan, that had listed all the Pac-12 teams ranked by combined Pac-12 or combined Pac-12 wins in football, football, men's basketball, and baseball. Yeah. And UW is at 10. And they were below Colorado, who does not have a baseball team.
That's awesome.
They were last in the conference.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, that was pretty exciting to see and hilarious. So they got 4 from football, and they've gotten 6 from baseball and basketball.
That's funny. That is funny. Yeah, they're not good. So yeah, that'd be a good way to finish strong. And but wouldn't that be awesome? Like if somehow they got back in the tournament,
won the last 9
incredible.
games.
Even what they've already done is incredible. Like when you really think about the short amount of time, I mean, they got, a partial season not even partial season.
Very partial.
They got a month. They got a month last year, right? Before everything shut down, maybe 6 weeks. So, they didn't get much last year. Brian Green, recruiting in a pandemic, all these things. And then I think that, for you and I who followed the baseball program pretty closely over the years, and in fact, old readers of Cougs Center might remember, like when Marbit was actually doing things, like we were all on the baseball stuff. Like we loved it. It was so much fun. And then it got pretty depressing there at the end of Donnie's tenure. And then Marty Lees, was a guy that we thought would do okay, but apparently that Pat Casey magic didn't rub off on him, and he just sort of ended up, pissing everybody off along the way. And, so the depths were pretty low, but, baseball again, baseball's been a sport, forever that you could rebuild pretty quickly. Cause the JUCO pipeline, is a very real thing. Talented kids go to JUCOs all the time in baseball. So, you can rebuild pretty quickly. And State of Washington's got good baseball players.
Great baseball state.
Yep. Yeah. And the Northwest, just the Northwest in general. Lots of, which is, I don't know. Somebody's going to have to explain that to me someday, why that is. Cause I'm like, they can't play all year round. But, it's, the Northwest really is a hotbed, and, and you see that with what Oregon State did. Washington got good for a few years.
Oregon got good. They went to a conference.
Oregon got good. Yeah. So
from nothing, like they had,
they created a program from nothing. So yeah, so we're, what Brian Green's doing right now is incredibly impressive. And, even again, if they don't quite make it there, I mean, I remember even, a few weeks ago, I was like, somebody mentioned, well, they might make the tournament. I'm like, no, they won't. It's just like, come on. And then, and then they kind of got a little hot, and, all of a sudden it wasn't quite so far fetched, which is, maybe, the biggest testament that, they're even in the conversation, even if they don't. It's always disappointing if you don't quite get over the hump, but, being in the conversation is a far cry from where we were 2 years ago, for sure.
Yes. And check out the last 9 games. We think 9, at least 6 games left on the season, and maybe we'll see some magic.
By
Cougsair.com update
the way,
not working.
2 years ago, 11, 42, and 1.
Yeah, and 1.
11, 42, and 1. And we
they
are
don't
20,
they
we are
play,
23 and 20 right now.
They play a lot of bad teams. They'll play a lot of bad teams in non-conference. So 11 and 42. That ain't good. That ain't good.
Year before that,
but yeah.
16 and 33 and 1.
Oh my goodness.
So Marty Lees' last 2 years with full seasons, 27 victories. Brian Green so far in a hit and miss season, 23.
And
good.
over 27 if you add last season. So I think they were 5-5 or 6. So I don't remember.
Pretty
10 and
good.
something. I can't remember.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah. It hasn't taken him long to make us better, and hopefully he has what it takes to take us over the top. And take us to Omaha, BTO.
Yeah,
BTO. Let's
go. That'd be a pretty quick return on that new facility.
Yeah,
for sure.
If we were to get into that regional with this pitching depth, that would be horrifying.
Just be like,
but hey, let's get there.
But hey,
but again, what did I tell everyone? Just enjoy the moment.
That's right. That's exactly right. It's exactly
right. Man.
Yeah.
Did we have? I think that's it. There's not 4,000 sports going on.
I know.
Ray Wells Jr. is leaving WSU. I assume maybe to go. Oh, he's the Uber track athlete who suffered a torn Achilles. It's a freaking pandemic.
Yeah.
Inside of a pandemic, a torn Achilles, and he's gonna be out for a while. But he announced he's leaving WSU, so I wonder if he's just trying to go for a pro track career.
That'd be
get those endorsements. You can get that endorsement money right away.
Go get some professional doctoring on that Achilles and give himself a chance to be amazing. Because for people who don't know who Ray Wells is, man, go find a video.
Yeah, just search Ray Wells.
He's got these videos doing these unbelievably ridiculous athletic feats, jumping mostly, and best of luck to him for sure. Yeah.
Hopefully, he can recover from that injury, and I know it's rough. I'm going through it now. It sucks, and I'm not trying to get back to being an elite
athlete. That is true. I mean, we were just having the conversation about, hey, Craig, maybe we should go try and get in the vaccinated section at the Sounders, and you're like, I don't know if I can stand and yell for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like,
it wouldn't be the standing. It would be like someone jumping on me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That might
I think
happen.
I told you when we went to the LA Galaxy match. I said, Jeff, don't jump on me.
Yeah, no jumping. I have this tendency I have a tendency to do that. So
of course, when they did score goals, I was hopping around on one foot and high fiving. We were distanced. I had to hop.
Yeah.
I mean, I can walk now. I can walk poorly, but I can do it. It's with a limp. Yeah. I had to. I slowed down Jeff a little bit, but we still
not
made
much.
it there.
You make up for it by having really long legs, so it goes.
Well, I had the nice discovery yesterday that I had like a 4-game Summit Club pack to the Defiance last year, and they just rolled it over. Woo. And so I have a ticket to Thursday's game, and I got a Summit Club ticket, so I'm gonna walk down there and walk back.
Beautiful.
I can do it, and plus I'm going to the rain match on Saturday to Summit Club again.
So much soccer.
It's just so much soccer, so much unlimited beer, like all the good stuff.
Well, the good news was also on that first goal, you didn't have to worry about me hurting you because I was taking a leak. So. I have amazing timing on those things. So
yeah, you do, man. Yeah,
I'm never leaving again.
next time we're at a game and Sounders need a goal, especially the first goal,
send me
Jeff,
away.
go to the bathroom. Get out of here.
Get out of here. Longtime listener of the podcast would note that I also was not there for the first goal of MLS Cup 2019 because I left to go pee, and then the Sounders scored their first goal, and then of course it was
angrily. I would say angrily left.
That one I did
pee.
Angrily leave because the game was not
stormed
going great.
out of the seat.
I was like, I'm gonna go pee. Okay, and then I'm standing there and. You know how they got the radio piped into the bathroom, and I'm like, oh, all right.
It's okay, Jeff. Just one.
I guess I missed it.
Just one of the greatest moments in Seattle sports history.
Yeah, no big deal. No big deal. It's okay.
You saw two more, so it's fine.
That is true. Same thing on Saturday. Same thing on Sunday. So
yeah,
I did see two more after that.
Rooting for the Sounders is fun.
Yes, it is. Winners are good.
Yes. Suck it, Timbers.
Yes.
Sorry, Timbers fans who listen. I know there are plenty of you, but not so.
There are. I'm sure they are fine.
I'm sorry, Diego Valeri missed 2 consecutive penalty shots.
I'm not sorry about that at all. The guy had only missed 5 in his MLS career, and he missed 2.
And had taken like every single
back.
one in his MLS career.
I know. It's awesome. All right.
Well, so again, let me plug Chase Thomas podcast. You can listen to me talk about our football team on there.
Yeah.
We had some fun with it. He asked me about to assess Nick Rolovich's first year, which you've heard me do on here before. So I don't know if you want to be reminded of that. And then talked about, the upcoming season and all that. So check it out. He did, again, spell Wazoo wrong in the tweet. He seems really in tune, and I think it was just an honest mistake. But I will hold it against him for the rest of his life. But
Never
yeah,
live that one down.
If you like this podcast, give us 5-star rating, subscribe if you haven't done that. Leave a comment saying how great we are and how good looking we are. You can hear it over the radio.
Sounds good.
Or the radio. I mean, I do listen to podcasts on my radio in my car all the time, so I guess it could be over your radio. Is it a radio if you're not actually listening to radio stations? Is it still a radio?
That's a great question, Craig. One of life's
are we using antiquated terms here? Like we're just like the world has passed.
My
us
kids
by.
don't know what a radio is.
When you're
listening,
listening,
be like, Daddy, tell us about radio.
Yeah. Well, you can get all of our episodes on 8-track. Just dial 1-900 go Cougs.
Some special edition cassettes that we're gonna hand out.
Yep. Just the greatest hits, which is the entirety of the podcast. It's going to be it's the intense, like insane amounts. An hour and a half each episode. You're going to need like 4 cassettes for each episode. It's going to be crazy. But yeah, so give us a call for that. If you call within the next 10 minutes, we're going to knock $5 off the price. So, 1-900, we don't care. Whatever it is. I don't care if that's, and we don't even care if that's not the right amount of digits for a phone number. We just don't care.
We just don't care.
Yeah. But again, call in the next 10 minutes, $5 off. And let's see, follow me on Twitter. You won't get any money off for that. The Craig Powers. Follow Jeff at Pod versus Everyone. And if you want to send us an email with a question, we got an email from someone from Jeff, another Jeff. He was excited about the basketball stuff as we were. He said he just peed a little. So congrats, Jeff, on just peeing a little bit.
Me too. It's okay. Just a little.
Oh, we did find out that I got an email that Icicle Brewing is owned by Cougs. So we had mentioned that on a previous podcast.
Yeah,
check out
which I did not
Brewing.
know.
Yeah, really cool story. Maybe I'll read it on the next one. I feel like Jeff really wants to leave. And my brother-in-law, in parentheses, because he's not actually married, probably wants to go with that. So
probably.
I'm gonna get out of here. So, all right. With that, I will say, go Cougs, Jeff.
Go Cougs, Greg. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.